What's up, guys? Today I figured I would do a video on all the RC trucks and cars that I built. And I was inspired by somebody that was talking to me the other day, and I figured why not do a little video on what I made. So this picture here, made quite a while ago, custom nylons. I put servos and took the gears out and totally like revamped everything. These things crawl, fantastic. In fact, I just sold them a couple of years ago, and I do believe on my YouTube channel here I have these crawling, very capable crawlers. Moving on, it's a 55 gasser I made. So it's a 55 Chevy. Machined the wheels. It was on an RC10. This thing, I think it hit 60 miles an hour. And let's see what, I think it had it was a hand wound motor. Something like a 6 or an 8 turn. And moving on from this one, this is another 55 I made. Our RC10 chassis. This was like a shelf queen. And I made more or less the same wheels for this one. Rear shot. I like these tires a lot. And then this was where I started to get into crawling. So it was a 55 Chevy pickup, and this roll bar was completely custom made by myself, and then the Tonto cover was made by myself. And this one was RatZilla, the original RatZilla. So you could see I had the cantilever shocks on it, and let's see, you could see this better here. There you could see the cantilever shocks with the links, and then the servo savers. It was, basically a clodbuster mod it, and then I did some decals and everything on it. Another picture of it showing off its articulation. Had the Pullmaster motors in it. Just the stock clod, plastic axles. Not sure here if I had, I think these were the plastic wheels yet. Yeah, these were plastic. No, these were actually aluminum wheels I made for it. So I did make aluminum wheels for this one here. Moving on. Just another RC10. I like the RC10s. They were real good. This one, I like these tires a lot. Different wheels, but the 56 Ford pickup that I made. A lot of fun driving this one. I think I had a 12 turn or something like that. It was a Trinity Ruby motor in this one. And then I got real wild and custom built this one. This one I called Sick Ticket. So this one was actually featured in a magazine. Custom machined wheels. We actually custom machined everything. It was on an RC10 body, and it had direct drive. I machined all of this shit here, posts, machined the whole front end, and just the tub was basically the RC10. And it went through some changes, I'll say that, because here you could see it had the regular independent suspension before I turned it into a complete drag car. Kind of high off the ground, and I wasn't happy with it, and it was for suspension travel. And then here you can see just the body itself. The whole front end was machined by myself, and then the back end you can see. And I tried these tires out, and yeah, they didn't work as good. And then the back view of with different tires before I put the license plate on it. And another shot of the chassis. So definitely running a servo saver, Futaba servo, Novak Super Rooster, Futaba 2-channel radio, Trinity battery pack. That's a better look. You can kind of see how I machined all of that. Stainless steel axle, so it took the torque real good. And it's gonna wrap that one up. And then this is where I had my brother actually, I was looking for a 21st century Jeep, and this is the G.I. Joe Jeep. So this one actually got featured in a magazine too, and it has the Cloudbuster chassis, but you know, some changes made to it. And I custom made this canopy top for it, custom made the spare cover, the strap that was custom made. And then here, you know, bucking around, you know, in the snow, had different shocks on it. This had the cantilever suspension. I tried it out for a little bit with that, and before I made the full roll cage, just had some brake line tubing for that. This had the original Willys grill in it. And this is where you can kind of see, you know, the same servo mounts I'm running today. And then I actually had made reduction units here. Put the little fan in there. It has the flat fender instead of the, you know, normal Jeep. And then added some screws here to attach this, because this was all made out of an old Army coat I had, and tanks in there. And this is some custom bead locks that I machined down for these tires when RC four-wheel drive, you know, came out with these. And then one to the winch, and this is before, you know, winches actually worked. You know, back in the day, you're talking 20 years ago or better. And I just machined it, looked at a real one, custom made the hook, and you know, that was that. And then this was a this was after I got the 21st century. I got a, what was it, a Stampede, I believe this was, and I made it for my wife. So this body was actually RatZilla, and then it came over to the Stampede and machined that. Sold this one more than a few years ago, and this thing was only two-wheel drive. This was a day of crawling, trying to get mad articulation, you know, back in the day. And it did crawl. It, you know, worked good. And this was even before I put the 5-point harness in it. There's tank, and I believe I mentioned in one of my new videos when I just got RatZilla running again, I said I machined a can of beer. Well, there's the can of beer. I don't have it anymore. I don't know what happened to it, but machined that, printed the label out, and that's before the 5-point harness. Actually had the rear seat in it, and this was on the G.I. Joe Jeep. Made some straps here, cantilever suspension. It's already getting dark out. You get a better look at the custom bead locks I made here. Put the plastic window in there, which something Rock Hobby should have did with their top, because to me it just looks like garbage. And they want 20 bucks for it. I mean, wasn't much to sew all this up myself and, you know, make it look right. And then this is where I start getting into the 5-point harness, because tank kept falling out. So good view. And this is where I start running dual super roosters. And these were the battery packs up until this year of 2023 that I actually revived these a little bit. I made the hat, put the goatee on them, made a chain for them, all the strapping and all made by myself. Some more crawling pics. And here I am just running the normal shocks. And these were the shocks that I actually just took off and replaced, but this was with the G.I. Joe body too. This plastic was a lot better, and I liked that plastic much more than the 21st century. And some of these pictures are all mixed in. I'm running the cantilevers here again. And these are all poser shots just to show the flex and you know, the suspension and stuff. You could tell you know, the wipers don't move here, and this came pre-painted, and I painted the one I'm running now all, you know, myself. This is a better shot here. You can see I actually had one. This was a Novak 820 speed control ESC, and later on I mounted a fan over it. Not that it was getting hot, I was only running one battery pack. And then you could see the reduction units here, all plastic. Links were all, you know, made by myself. These were Rancho stickers that I put on. And it's when I made the new bead lock for them. And that was the can of beer before I put the label on. Better look at the top and the spare tire cover. Another poser shot here. You could see I back out just a hair. I think these were actually the same shocks I was running. I think I just painted them army green, or the springs anyway, army green. And these were the first aluminum rims I made. So this was definitely before I went bead lock. And then changed the antenna up. And this is a newer picture here where I tried running different, these are supports over here that go from the gearbox to the tubing. So I had aluminum mounts here, and she actually, you know, articulated really nice, but before the roll cage, and still just, you know, one ESC. Some more pictures of it crawling. And again, you know, this was just the Clodbuster chassis modified. Little poser shot to show the cantilever suspension, how that articulated. Definitely was not, you know, a great suspension. I didn't like it. And I know the tires, you know, the bead locks that I made were definitely better, way better. I actually sold these wheels, and then I sold the bead locks separate. Yeah, I parted everything out. These were the reduction units I made. So they were a 66-to-1, 13 tooth pinion, 20 tooth, and then the motor had a 8 tooth. And some modification you had to do to the Claude axles, or the cases, but worked great. And then right here I went with the high torque servos they had back out in the day, which were the high tech, and I actually was running those to this day, and just recently sold them. And then I started to get to paint. This was the 21st Century Jeep body. I didn't cut the bumper down yet. I started to, first started out olive drab, then I added the mud, and still on the Clodbuster body or chassis. There's tank. Got that beer. G.I. Joe body yet. You can see a better look here, how the shocks were mounted. Just some angle aluminum. And that's going to wrap this one up. So let's go back. This is a Impala I made called the Black Widow. It was on another RC10 I had, and I machined the whole front end, and then I kept this one I actually machined. This was direct, so it had a posi rear in it. Painted the outside flat black. I got sick of looking at the shine. Front view of it. This car ran pretty fast too. Not quite sure, but. And then we get into that was a 61. Now this is a 64 Impala that I made. And this thing was wicked fast. More custom machine wheels that I made, and I had this one lowered, tinted the windows out, chrome paint and everything. And this was really a good paint. You would paint the silver chrome on and then hit it with black, and it did really look like chrome. I don't even know if you could still get that today. This one was called Mental Case. And then this is a 68 Camaro. I named it Psychotic. And I'm trying to just recall here. This had a custom, it was a hand-built battery pack, and this sold probably around 2014. Guy from Virginia actually drove up to me, and he bought it. So no longer have this one either. Front view of it had a Novik Super Rooster in this one. Blacked out the windows, tinted them. Custom wheels again, And then this is this is the only picture I had of this Hummer. This is like way back. All I did is, it was a complete clodbuster, made the cantilever suspension on it. And Pullmaster Motors, the very first Pullmasters they came out with, custom machined those wheels. You could see the wheel don't even have, I even forget how I attach these wheels, but they don't even have nuts on them. A lot of these parts were reused for other builds, or they were just mimicked. In fact, I just found these parts here, and kind of reminds me of a fishtail that I had to make when I was going to be a machinist. And I just found these. I didn't know what the hell they were from. And then I custom made, and this is some aluminum I just found bent up, and I thought, what the hell is this from? And it turns out that it's a push bar I made. Unfortunately, I don't have a picture of the front, but custom machined that. It's the only picture I have of this one. And now we start more or less getting into the RatZilla of today, but with some changes. Before, it had four-wheel steer, custom machined all of this. There was a lockout so the rear would not steer. Different frame was on it, lowered it, and these were the same shocks, cut the springs down on it. And then this was the roll cage, bent up, raised it all together. And that was when I just mounted the roll cage. This has a different winch on it. I machined, it was a non-working winch, just machined different. That, you know, I didn't like the other one, so I machined this one out. And these were tires were when RC four-wheel drive came out, and their wheels, I didn't feel like making another set of beadlocks. Those Clodbuster ones were a pain in the ass to make. Has a custom gear reduction, skid plates, so you start to see more, you know, 5-point harness. And then I painted the windshield here and everything on the 21st Century one. Just some other pictures, other views. It's going to get pixelated there, but you can see I'm still using the high techs, and I like I said, I was using those to this day when I just revived this. And then this was when I first fit the roll cage in. 21st Century came here, you know, with the spare tire cover. And this is more when it was a shelf queen. Didn't want to run it after all hard work I put into it. And now these days I don't care. Another picture from the front, what it looked like before I painted the roll cage. Window down. You still see I'm using the clod style, still refining. Had some good flex. I mean, 2 soda cans, you know, definitely had some flex. This is a picture that this was featured in another magazine. Get to take a look at those pictures, but I added some, like the foam that you put on the roll bar and stuff like that. The top I put on there. Got the gear reductions. You see a better view of the skid plates, the upper links. This is when I went to the 4-link suspension. And the headlights when I wired them in. Another poser pic for the magazine. They asked me, you know, how about, you know, some pics just poser ones. So went out and did that. It's gonna wrap that up, and then these were the magazines that I was featured in. So RatZilla Rock Crawler. This was with the G.I. Joe body that you looked at earlier. Gives you a rundown of everything. And Astroflight Pullmaster motors, 3,000 milliamp battery. And this was with the Novak 820 speed control in it. Yep. Oh, 828. So it wasn't the 820, it was 828. And then the 5645 high-techs. And that's when it did not have rear steer. So that was one magazine. Yeah, this was one magazine it was featured in, and then this was another one. So I said 66 to 1, it was 75 to 1 gear ratio. And A-tooth pinion. And this is when it had the bead locks too. And then Sick Ticket. This was featured in a magazine. And then again, this one, well, these two were featured in a magazine. It had the Novak Super Rooster speed controls in both of them. Trinity 1700. It was a D6 Trinity motor with a six turn armature in it. And then here's RatZilla, what you basically see today, but different, at least as of this year. As of before this year, this is how it sat. As of today, there's pull masters are gone, speed controls are gone. And then the last vehicle that I built, this was my wife's, is called Bad Blood. It was a Stampede. Painted the body myself. Got some custom steering links on there. This one, I think it had some upgraded shocks here. Tinted the windows out, and really did a lot of work painting it. Diamond plate on the quarters, license plate. I can't even tell you what motor is in this. This one I did not machine any wheels for. You could see the links that I did make for it. And that's gonna about wrap up all my builds.